Wildfires have killed at least 11 people in Spain's southern province of Almería, with 4 Brits thought to be among the dead. 19 people are still missing. Several victims were found in their cars. Firefighters are trying to contain the blaze that witnesses say was caused by a downed power line during a heatwave. 150 people have been housed in a local cultural centre. While the regional government says it is the worst fire the area has seen in terms of its overall impact. The Spanish Prime Minister, Pedro Sánchez, offered his condolences to the families affected, expressing his enormous sadness and grief. The Spanish royal family have held a minute's silence for the victims. Well, Spain's military emergency unit, which is deployed in major emergencies, said it would join firefighting efforts in Los Gallardos. Now, extreme heat has sparked serious blazes right across Europe. Let's talk now to Alessio Galanda, who's a journalist for Olive Press. He's speaking to us from Granada in southern Spain. Alessio, good to have you here. And what can you tell us about what we know is happening on the ground right now?
Good morning, Ben. Thank you for having me. What we know so far is that 11 people have been killed. 4 of them are suspected to be Brits. They were found in a scorched car, which had a right-hand drive. Another 6 people who also died are also believed to be foreign. We don't know where from. They could be British or they could be Belgian. And one of the dead has been confirmed as a Spaniard. 19 people remain missing. Bédar, where the bodies were found, is one of the places in Spain with the highest concentration of British residents. About 42% of the people registered as residents there are from Britain. So there is a chance that some of the people missing may be British. And in fact, we have just been informed that the families of 2 elderly couples who live in Bédar are looking for them. We don't know if they are amongst the 19 reported missing by authorities, but there is a search going on for these people.
Yes, and Alessio, you talked there about the local area and you touch on there, dominated the highest concentration of British people who live in that area. So, as we said, we're expecting that death toll and certainly the number injured to rise. What do you know about the area itself in terms of its geography? Because there is some suggestion that actually it's one of the driest places in Spain too, and that could have been one of the factors that has caused this fire.
Absolutely. That is one of the problems. Bédar is a former mining town, and it is surrounded by shrubbery that during the summer, when temperatures are high, becomes very, very dry. So that's essentially an enormous tinderbox. As you said, the fire was caused by a downed power line. It is being investigated as the cause of the accident. And the problem is, the reason why this fire has been so deadly is that it spread incredibly quickly, precisely because of the vast amount of dry shrubbery that surrounds the area. We have reports of about 400 people, firefighters and soldiers, currently battling the blaze. But it is very, very difficult to bring under control. Authorities, including the town mayor, the mayor of Los Gallardos, have said it is proving extremely tough to beat.
What help is available? Do we know what the emergency services are able to do? We talked there about that emergency evacuation plan being put into place. We know that firefighters are battling this fire on a number of fronts. But what help is available in a situation like this?
In situations like this, aside, of course, from firefighters, as you said yourself, Spain often deploys soldiers from the National Military Emergency Unit, and we understand that they are currently on the way there. There are about 20 aircraft also helping, more than 40 land vehicles also participating in the operation. The evacuations took place yesterday, on Thursday, around 6:45, and the reason was the smoke. We have had reports of residents saying that the smoke was simply suffocating. About 1,000 people were evacuated, and currently some of them have been allowed to return home, but around 600 remain in emergency shelters. So essentially what the government and local authorities can do at times like this is try to bring the flames under control and keep people safe. But again, this one is proving very, very tough to beat.
Yes, and especially given the temperatures continuing to rise. I'm looking at the numbers now. I mean, temperatures around 40 degrees Celsius, that's 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Those wildfires, not just in Spain, but across large parts of southern Europe, and indeed in the UK, temperatures rising too. So it seems that this has some way to run yet.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, just the other day, data from the central government showed that this so far, well, June and July so far have been particularly above average in terms of recorded fires. As of last week, we'd had more than 300 fires in between June and July. Temperatures are skyrocketing across the country, even in the north, which traditionally is much cooler than the south. And just this morning, aside from this horrible fire in Los Gallardos, we've had another one near Marbella with 1,000 evacuations. In fact, I've had one 250 meters away from my house. It was much smaller and immediately brought under control. But all of Spain is struggling with high temperatures and extreme wildfire risk at the moment.
Okay, for now, Alessio, thank you. Good to talk to you today on the programme. Alessio Gerlanda there, a journalist at Olive Press. Let's talk about some of those numbers with the BBC's weather presenter, Chris Fawkes, who is with me. Chris, nice to see you too. You've been looking at the maps about what may have gone on in that part of Spain. Just explain.
Sure, and we can show you a satellite picture. Now, we're used to looking at satellite pictures from weather, but this one's a bit different. What this does is it picks up thermal anomalies. So if I just try ring the area that we're looking at across southeast Spain. Have a look there. You can just see the first pixel, the first hotspot emerging at about 2:40 yesterday local time. And 10 minutes later, you can start to see the fire really taking hold. Over the space of 3 or 4 hours, you can really see how that is growing and becoming much more fierce. You know, the brighter colours there are telling us the temperatures are rising, but it's also spreading, so it's becoming a lot larger as well. And the kind of local weather conditions, you know, we've talked about the extreme heat wave that we know last month alone killed over 1,000 people in Spain. There are similar conditions in other parts of Western Europe as well. But once that fire was triggered, and the reports about that being from a downed power line, we then had southeasterly winds gusting about 25 miles an hour. Now, the significance of that is those winds were pushing the fire upslope, and that makes it burn and spread really easily. It's almost like the worst direction where the winds coincide with the local topography.
Yeah, it's really a perfect storm when it comes to that. And Chris, we're talking there about those, the heat warnings that have been activated in a number of countries across Europe. Those in themselves, nothing new, but I suppose we should look at the human impact of that, and that's about excess deaths.
Yeah, that's right. So when we get these heat wave, we know that we see more people dying than would otherwise die. And these are people that, yes, they might be elderly, they might have underlying health conditions, but they are dying because of the heat. Okay, and we know that in the June heat wave alone, there were over 1,000 excess deaths in Spain. We had similar figures in France. Now, often it takes a little while for these figures to fully emerge, but we know that there are figures in the thousands already, and those figures will just grow as more data becomes available.
Talk to me about the situation in the UK as well. Our third heat wave so far this year,
Yes.
and that looking like it will last longer than maybe first forecast.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you know, the highest temperature we had yesterday was 35.5 Celsius, which was in Wisley in Surrey. I think that is going to be the highest temperature that we get in this heat wave. So the peak wave, that'll be the highest temperature of the heat wave, I suppose. But yeah, 35.5. Now, I think what we're going to see is, yes, we've seen some records in terms of this year. The number of days that we've had above 34 degrees Celsius, we've now had 8 days above 34 in this country, and that's never happened before. The previous record was 7 days, set in 1976, and again repeated in 2020. So this is already a record-breaking heat wave. What comes next? Well, today the highest temperatures are going to be a little bit further westward, so areas around the West Midlands will probably see temperatures reach around 34 degrees Celsius. Similar locations for the highest temperatures on Sunday. And then we'll probably start to see temperatures come down a little bit thereafter. So 35.5, I don't think we'll get higher than that. But in the longer term, we'll start to see some thunderstorms break out into next week. There'll be hit and miss initially, a bit more widespread towards the end of the week, and a big change into the following weekend.
A really busy few days for you, Chris. Grateful for your time. Thank you. Chris Fawkes, our BBC weather presenter. So let's take you to those pictures we're getting now at the moment from southern Spain. These are the latest images we're getting. You see the helicopters there, part of that effort. Those emergency responders trying to contain that blaze around Almería, that appears to have been caused by that downed power line. But some of those blazes are really taking off in parts of that of southern Spain. So we'll keep a close eye on those pictures for you. But just to reiterate the thing you can see on the screen there, 11 people have died in a wildfire in southern Spain. Early indications so far suggesting 4 of the victims are British.